What you say in your marketing matters. Being able to clearly define what you really do for your clients, that is what will bring you more qualified clients. And I get it. I totally get it. No one ever taught you how to market yourself or your studio, but it's time for that to change. The truth is, it's not just about the quality of the teaching. Impactful and effective marketing is critical to building and growing your studio business. Now, lucky for you, I'm opening up enrollment for my marketing intensive program. Inside, I take you through my proven framework for creating a marketing message that is unique to you and your studio. And I show you how you can amplify that inside a marketing plan that puts you in complete control of your growth, all in just 8 weeks. The marketing intensive really has been a game changer for the studio owners who have gone through the program, and it could be exactly what you need to take your business to the next level too. Enrollment is open right now, but only for a very limited time, and space is also limited, just so that I can give everyone inside the attention that their businesses deserve. So don't wait. If you're interested in learning more about the marketing intensive, you can go to spring3.com/marketing intensive or click the link in the show notes. Your digital presence is more important than ever before. That we know, but it's also opens up a can of worms with questions like, where should I be? What should I say? And how does it all really work? And then ultimately, what kind of an impact does your digital presence actually have on your business, on your revenue, and on your sales? Well, that's what we're talking about today on the Pilates Business Podcast, because we are diving deep with Anastasiya, founder of Pilates Bridge and digital marketing expert, to uncover the secrets to online success in the Pilates industry. Well, hi there, I'm Seran Glanfield. I'm a business and marketing strategist just for boutique fitness studio owners like you. If you're ready to be inspired and make a bigger impact, you're in the right place. All you need are a few key strategies, the right mindset, and some support along the way. Join me as I share the real-life insights that will help you grow a sustainable and profitable studio. This is the Pilates Business Podcast. Welcome back to the Pilates Business Podcast. I'm Seran, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. We are firmly into the first quarter of 2025 and looking ahead to the rest of the year. This industry continues to be booming, which means that we really need to have all of our ducks in a row when it comes to marketing and standing out from the crowd. And when we think about marketing, very often we're thinking about being online, on social media, and all of these other places that we can be. And obviously, there's a lot of different ways that you can be present in the digital space. And so I'm really excited today to be joined by Anastasiya, who is the founder of Pilates Bridge. She created this incredible online community for Pilates professionals that connects teachers and students while also sharing tips and tools and resources for Pilates pros. Now, together, on top of that, with her husband, she runs a digital marketing agency, S&V Marketing, that is dedicated to helping Pilates professionals and wellness businesses to get more clients and reach more people. Now, we have a lot in common because she is also a big Pilates fan and has worked with a lot of the studio owners that I also get to work with. So we get to collaborate a little bit on helping the same folks to build and grow their businesses. So welcome, Anastasiya. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you for inviting me. Excited to be here.
Of course, of course. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into doing what you're doing today? Because obviously the merging of the Pilates world with digital marketing, I'm so excited to get to share, to hear a little bit about your story because we have a lot in common. And I think that you get, it's really great to be able to blend your passion right together when it comes to building a business.
I never thought that I would be blending marketing and web design with Pilates. I was always interested in fitness, and I probably started teaching some kind of fitness classes when I was 16. So it's been a long time ago. And one thing led to another, and I discovered Pilates, and it was awesome. So I'm originally from Ukraine. And then when my husband and I would move to the US, that was kind of like one of my first like bucket list things. Like, I want to get certified to be a Pilates instructor. I just want to experience. I know I tried mat back in Ukraine, but like, I just want to do it all. I want to apparatus and all of that. But at the same time, still in Ukraine, I was working. My husband and I were working in some of the digital marketing, working for a company, and then we also had our own business. So one thing led to another, and I was teaching. I got certified, and I was teaching. I still teach a little bit just because I love Pilates, but um, I was teaching for a little bit, and then the first studio owner that I worked with. So there was the studio where I was teaching. She needed a website because she was working with somebody. And I was like, hey, I'm already at the studio. I'm kind of like invested in it. I want to get more clients for myself. I want you to grow, but let me help you out with that. And at that point, I just realized for her, like she knew nothing about tech or digital marketing. Like all of that was just speaking Chinese to her. I mean, just even simple things from what does it mean to host a website? I mean, even things like that. And that was back, about 15 years ago now. So, things have evolved and we have a lot more resources. Back then, it's like, oh, there's most studios, like she wasn't even using any scheduling at the moment. It was just pen and paper, all of that kind of stuff. And just for me to be able to explain things in a language that she could understand, kind of bring some of the Pilates terms maybe sometimes in it, uh, give her an idea, okay, this is what you actually need, and help her studio grow and show up more online. That was really that aha moment for me. And I was like, wow, I love Pilates, but I can only teach but so few clients because of my time and just my location. But there's so many incredible studio owners and teachers who want to share their passion, but they need that support because tech and marketing, like in marketing, what I'm talking about, definitely more like digital marketing, this is not something they enjoy. This is not something they want to learn. And there is a steep learning curve a lot of times. So this is where that blend came in about like, I really want to help them grow their business, help more people share their passion, love for Pilates, and everything in between. And here's where I am today. I think at this point, I don't know, probably about I worked with about 100 Pilates studios, teachers, and all of that, educators by now. So it's in all kinds of different directions, from contemporary to classical to anything in between, online only. So yeah, this is my story.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think there's nothing quite like working with studio owners who are so passionate about what they do. And I think if you are in that situation as a studio owner where you have invested in your teaching skills and you love to teach, you can't really expect to also be as knowledgeable as someone who has invested their time in learning how to market and do digital marketing. And so this is a perfect example of something that, as a business owner, and you think about how to spend your time and where to spend your where to invest in your business, outsourcing some of these things, it can be really, really powerful. And also, I just often just really the most efficient and effective way to get the results that you want from those efforts. All right. I think it's really hard for us. You can always DIY something, but it probably takes longer and might not be quite as good. And so it's always good to work with someone not only who knows how to build a website, how to do digital marketing, but also who knows the industry as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think when we think about when people come to me, and I'm sure similarly to you, we have these conversations with many studio owners, and when we think about marketing, and especially when we think about digital marketing, I think, or online marketing, often we start by thinking about social media. It's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's TikTok, it's all of those places out there. It's all the social media. But sometimes those aren't quite as effective as some of the other perhaps avenues to go down. So in your mind, seeing what you see from from all of the work that you do, where do you see the weakest link or the most important element of your online presence? What would you say that number one is?
The number one is definitely the Google Business Profile, or back in the day, it was called Google My Business. They changed that name multiple times. So basically, it's the listing for your business on Google Maps. And if you're running a home studio or like virtual classes, so obviously this is not going to be as relevant to you. But I know like majority of the studios, they want to be discovered by the clients. And where do the clients go to search for something? In some cases, so, like some younger generations, I'll say like they might go to Instagram in certain areas, urban areas. They might go and make a decision on which studio to join based on some kind of Instagram reel or anything like that. But majority of them, they will go to their Google Maps and they'll type in Pilates near me, reformer classes near me, Pilates studio near me, anything, any variation of that. And this is where that Google Business Profile really shows up, because the studios that will show up are obviously located close to the person. Like if you're in an area where maybe you have 2 or 3 competitors, very small, I mean, it's really easy to set it up and just have it send people to you all the time. If you're in a more competitive area, like any urban area, downtown, like New York City, California, all those kind of places, the competition is really fierce over there. And the studio owners, a lot of times they'll just set it up once. It's like, okay, I have a listing, okay, and that's it.
Right. Yes.
And they never touch it. But actually, if we're talking about how people find you, about 60 to 70% of new customers or like local customers find your business on the maps. They don't find you on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever, anything. They don't go to your website because they don't know what your website is unless they've seen you maybe on the side of, driving by. They find you through that Google Business Profile. And then, yes, they will go a lot of times to your website, or they will call or go straight to your scheduling if you have that integrated into that. But this is a lot of times that first touch point that most of the studios don't even think about. And there's so many different ways that it can be optimized, and it actually has to be kept up with, similar to social media. But at the same time, it's kind of a little bit easier. It just requires some consistency. That's the most important thing. Consistency.
So you set up the Google My Business Profile. What would you say are best practices to make that really work for you as a studio business owner?
So the most important thing is making sure that fill out all the information that you can possibly fill out, because a lot of times it's not filled out. So one thing that I noticed a lot of times is that choosing the correct category for your business. I mean, you would think, okay, this is simple stuff, but still, a lot of times I've seen a lot of studios that will set up their primary category maybe as like a gym or personal training, and this is not what they are. They are a Pilates studio, and the other services can be added there, those other categories, but your primary focus has to be set up as the first category, because this is what Google pays attention to, what you're mainly about. Who are you as a business? That next thing is definitely your business name. And this is kind of gray area in Google Business Profile and local SEO in general. The reason why I'm saying that is that Google pays attention to the name of the Google Business Profile in searches. So for example, if you're located in, I don't know, like Soho, right? New York City, and your studio name is Pilates Studio Soho. If somebody's searching for that, you will show up first, even maybe you're not located close to that person just because of that name. Now, this is where like the question of branding and things like that come in. And then if you're just starting your studio, this might be something for you to consider. How you're naming yourself. Maybe like a lot of times I see studios, they don't even have the name Pilates in it. It's, I don't know, Breathe.
Mind, body, wellness.
Yeah, mind, body, wellness, yes, or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's not descriptive to your customers, and it's not descriptive to Google. So how are they supposed to know what you do, right? We're all about wellness, whatever. So those are the most important things I think to pay attention to. And then adding things like you can add different services to Google Business Profile that actually affect your ranking. The location, all of that, that's obviously, yes. Adding images, photos of the studio and being consistent with adding those. So it's not like, okay, I set up my studio, added a couple of photos, done. Keep adding those every month. Add a photo. It doesn't matter what it is. Just add a photo of something. I don't know, Pilates arena, class, whatever. Ask your clients to add photos from the class. That's like the engagement with your Google Business Profile. I know this is not something we can control as business owners, but asking those clients to engage with the profile, that's super important. And the reviews, obviously, that's not so much for rankings, though it does affect it some, how you show up, but it's more about credibility. And when a person finds your studio, are they going to go, what's the first thing that they're going to check out? They're going to read all those reviews. If you have great reviews and you have a lot of them, that's like, oh yeah, that's the studio for me. If you have like one review from 3 years ago and your like neighbor over there, like another competitor, has even like 25 reviews and they're all like recent, guess who they're going to contact?
That's right. That's right. And am I right to say also that Google will probably prefer that studio also with where they place it on the page in terms of the search outcome?
Yes, absolutely. And again, this is like with Google, it's a little interesting. In that sense, it is similar to social media because, as I mentioned earlier, the engagement is a very strong factor in all of that. So, and it all plays into it when people check out your profile, when they drive to your studio, when they upload it, when they leave reviews, when you go and engage with your own profile by updating something, it shows Google, okay, this is like, there's engagement, there's something happening. If last time you uploaded anything was a year ago or 2 years ago, I mean, for Google, it just seems like it's just a boring place. Nobody cares about this place. So that affects those rankings because they track us all. They track everything that we do, every place we go. They know exactly.
They know what you're doing, what you like, what you don't like,
you say,
how well you're sleeping.
Yes, absolutely. They know it all, and they use all of that for their products.
Yeah. So when it comes to Google specifically, what and when would you recommend that folks use advertising and spend money on Google Ads, for example?
With Google Ads, it's always a tricky question, in my opinion, because I think every studio is a little different for that. It depends on the offering and the demographic that you're in. First of all, you need to have the intro offer or some kind of intro new client experience nailed down. But if you are just sending a person to a website that doesn't have any like really information about anything, like the getting started, it's not clear on what the next steps are, it's just going to be a wasted click, wasted money, a wasted budget. And like, if you're already paying for that person to find you, you better make sure that when they find you, that you have everything in place to pull them into your space. And I'm not saying that like, oh, pull it, like, being too salesy or anything like that. It's more about like being prepared, creating the best experience for them from the start. So a lot of times I feel like and we do manage, my husband and I would do manage advertising campaigns for the studios as well. And a lot of times, if the studio is new, Google Ads would be an essential part of it. Just make sure everything's set up because nobody knows. You're not going to be ranking. It can be the Google Business Profile. Again, if you're in a competitive area, it can take 6 months for it to start showing up, for people to even start discovering you.
Without spending anything.
Yeah, without spending anything.
Right,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And like the website is very similar. So like just because you set up your business and you created a website, it doesn't mean that people are finding you. They don't know about you.
No. Yes, exactly.
And this is where the ads really come in, and they're really important, I feel. And then if you're adding if you're like scaling your business, you're growing, you need to kind of take it to the next level, you have the advertising budget. Yes, those things can, like the ads can go really well as well. I do find that with ads, you, again, like the offer has to be like really specific to your demographic, to the people, what they're looking for. If your offer is not aligned with what they're looking for, no matter how much money you spend, you're not going to get any return on it. And also you have to consider, okay, what's my marketing budget? Where should I spend it? I mean, Google ads, they're not cheap. If you want something to like bring in clients into your studio, it's not a cheap way to get them in. A lot of times an essential at the beginning, especially, but you want to make sure that your marketing budget can support that.
Right. And like you said, I think oftentimes in my experience has been, and it sounds a bit like you, perhaps what yours may have been also, is that we want to make sure that the entire customer journey is rock solid and very built out before we start fueling it with an ad spend at the top of the funnel. So what that means is that I think what Anastasiya just mentioned, which is that you want to make sure that you've got that landing page with a very specific offer that you're sending them to when they click on it, and that your checkout process and your scheduling process is sort of guiding them forward so that you're not sort of spending money on someone perhaps clicking on an ad, but then that next step is unclear. And so they end up just going back on that button, in which case you spent the money, you've paid for that person to click through to your site, but yet you're not getting anything out of that. And that's not, that's obviously a very unoptimal situation to be in. So we always want to make sure that you have that funnel, that customer journey really, really well designed so that you're not spending money, but also losing money, that you're spending money and making revenue.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Google My Business is number one. I love that. That's really, really helpful and important for us all to hear, and updating it regularly. Making sure that you're asking your clients to give you some lovely reviews, and making sure that you're making it is reflective of your business as it stands today. Because like you said, we set these things up, many moons ago when perhaps the studio opened. Things have changed today, perhaps even changed locations, perhaps changed phone numbers, perhaps changed emails, right? And so we want to make sure it's completely up to date, and then that we are updating it on a regular basis. Right. Okay. So next, what comes next, would you say? And obviously we've mentioned the website. Would you say that is sort of the next best place to sort of spend and invest time and energy and money in terms of making sure your digital presence is rock solid?
Yes, absolutely. So the website, because the Google Business Profile, a lot of times it's that first stop. But what happens next is most of the time, in about, I would say, from what I'm seeing, about 80% of the new customers will click through to the website after viewing the Google Business Profile, because there's not enough information that now they want to find out, okay, what does the place look like? What are your prices? All of that stuff. This is where the website comes. What's your intro offer? You can't show that on Google Business Profile, at least not yet. Might be coming, but we don't know that for sure. So this is where the next step is. And then also the website, there are multiple ways for people to discover your website. The Google Business Profile, even though I do think that it's that first most important step, it's still owned by Google. So technically, you can say like you're renting, right, that listing from them, even though you're not paying anything. But any moment, and I've had those situations with the clients, Google will suspend their listing or something else. Something will happen. And all of a sudden, all your leads, all your new clients, they just dry out. So what happens next? So the website is something that you do own. This is part of your business. It's your property. And you should treat it like that. And it's important that the website definitely represents your business. It definitely shows that clear customer journey. Also, the website can show up in a lot of those rankings as well on the search results. So if a person did not find you and you're not maybe ranking really well in the Google Maps and those listings, under them, Google also shows what are called the organic search rankings. So these are just regular links to the websites, and people will click through those as well because, sometimes, there are different paths. If you're number one, number two, number three in those top results, you will get a lot of clicks. Maybe your listing on the maps is like number 5, 6, whatever, and people not seeing it, but your website still has, and maybe like you're not located as close to the searcher, you're still able to get them if they click through those organic search results. So there's still a lot of traffic coming from that. And then obviously your social media, sending out any promotions to the clients through the newsletter, any type of mentions, if you do any collaborations or promotions or anything like that, where are you going to send them? You need to send them to your website. In like your ads, you're sending them to the website, not to something else. So that like it's definitely very important, and people do go to the websites, they check it out. That's what they check out. I mean, this is where they schedule, contact you. This is where the actual transaction happens most of the time. And it's important both for new clients and also for the existing ones, because keeping those existing clients, creating a good environment, good experience from them, even through the website, is important too, because, they're already there. You want to keep them there. You don't want to someplace else. So website is also like very important for marketing as well.
We always say it's like the front door to your whole business.
Yes.
And it is important. I think these numbers are always sort of, they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller, but, you don't really have a lot of time to make that great, really strong first impression. And we know that people are very quick to scan, and these days, we have so much information flow. So what would you say are the sort of the key things to include on your website, and where should those things be?
Some of the most important things are clear calls to action, or CTAs. And this is something that a lot of Pilates studio, and like any businesses really, but especially in the wellness industry, they're afraid of asking for the sell. And sometimes it's not even the sell that clear, the call to action. It can be even like a consultation, whatever it is, but placing them there. I see a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, but I have my intro offer on this page that's linked in my footer, so my clients can go there and find it, but I'm not mentioning it anywhere else. Well, how many people are gonna go through, or even if it's not in the footer, maybe it's somewhere in the menu, hiding somewhere under about us, pricing, whatever. It's like they're not gonna go there. Just making sure that what your offer is front and center everywhere, regardless of where that person lands on your website. They should be able to get to that offer, that new client offer, as soon as possible. So making sure it's mentioned clearly and very obviously in your menu. I always like to place some kind of CTA in the menu as the last button, because that's where our eyesight goes. Placing it over the hero image. Nobody needs a video showing your entire studio that's like really long. Not to say that videos are bad, but like if it's a long video, keeps playing and it doesn't really say anything, doesn't really send a person anywhere, just load slowly, that person's going to click away. Just put that CTA somewhere where a person can clearly see it. And also explain exactly what you do. Like we mentioned before, if your studio name is Mindful Wellness, anything like that, and then the first thing that people say, like, step into your new you, or anything like that,
Yes, I know. Yeah,
move with purpose,
Yeah.
or anything like that. It doesn't really say what you offer. It doesn't really say why a person should come to you, what they're going to get out of it. So just always keep in mind, why are people seeking you out? What are their problems, pain points, inspirational identity, whatever it is, that however you're looking at that, just make sure you're speaking to them from the first word, not just using some pretty fancy words that really don't
resonate.
Don't say
right?
anything. Yep, don't say anything.
I always like to say that we do, although we want to make sure that we are standing out with our marketing and messaging, we also need to check boxes. And so the two big boxes I think that we want to check with especially these sort of top of funnel marketing, where we are showing up with our marketing, is what it is that we do and described in the way that your clients would describe it. So if you're a Pilates studio, you need to have Pilates somewhere in your description of what you do. And then your location, right, is also quite important. And I think that it's not to say that that is just sort of the checkbox that people are going to sort of say, yes, I'm in the right place. This is the two things I'm looking for: Pilates in the town that I live in. Then you're going to elaborate on that with what makes you unique. But those are kind of the must-have things to have, not just, I would say, on your website, but probably in that Google profile, probably on your social media profiles. These are kind of important to include. Otherwise, people kind of get lost. And what we know about people who are confused or not sure is that they're not going to waste their time trying to figure it out or try to educate themselves. They're going to click back on that browser and they're going to go to the next on the list of what Google has given them. And if that is easier to read and more straightforward, then they will probably stay there. Right. So we definitely have to check some boxes for sure and make it really, really clear. What else is important in terms of, because we've talked about a website, what to include, but obviously the website and your Google profile and Google, where you show up in Google are pretty linked. So from an SEO perspective, what is important for you to have on your site? We talked about a couple of things, but what would you say is important from an SEO perspective?
On the website, just making sure having content, that's first of all. Having content, and that goes for both speaking to your customers and talking to Google bots. You want to make sure that you have the same words. Some of those, they're called keywords. It doesn't mean that you have to stuff them in every sentence or make it sound like a robot. No, but it has to be included in an organic and authentic way, right? So mentioning all the different services, so it's like the homepage of the website is the one that usually gets the most clicks. And this should include all the main things that you offer. If the homepage of your website only talks about your credentials and your vision and your mission and all of that kind of stuff, it's not telling those customers, okay, well, do you offer classes or just privates? Are you a teacher training center? All those types of this are the questions they have. Most of the time, very rarely they care so much about your credentials and what you think. And there are a lot of eyes, I think.
Yes.
In some of the copy.
But I know. I think you and I have both been doing this quite a long time, and I think we've really evolved in this industry, because I do remember sort of when I was sort of 10 years ago, there was a lot of history of Pilates pages on pretty much everyone's websites, and I think that was really feeding our own interests and not necessarily the interests of our clients. And I think that we've all evolved a little bit and perhaps talking about that elsewhere with our clients, but that's not what is going to help you sell more classes or more privates or even get the right kind of clients in the door. And so we are always learning, and I think we're always evolving what we want to talk about and what we should be talking about. But I think that we're in a better place now for sure.
Yeah. And some of the other things, like as far as the website goes, just making sure that you update the content on the website as well. Again, that's another thing that goes in line with the Google Business Profile. The way that Google bots work is they will come and what they call they index your pages, which is basically they crawl them and then they figure out, okay, does this page answer the query that this person has? Does it talk about whatever, Pilates in Soho, right? Our example over there. Or does it not? And they will come more often if your website gets some kind of update often. If your website has been set up a year or 2 years ago and you don't change anything on it, this just sends a signal to Google. There's really no new information. No need for us to come back and crawl it, which means that if there's a competitor who updates their website more frequently, they will visit that website more often. They will bring it up in their rankings. So all of those types of signals, they do play into the SEO and the local SEO. And sometimes, again, like this can be like some little things, like some kind of promotion, some kind of little change on the homepage, some even like changing an image or anything like that. All of that plays a lot. And actually, images, they're another very important aspect of it right now, because many searches now bring up pages with images or just even show image only as some of the top results. And not so much local. I mean, some of the local ones will do that as well. So making sure that you're setting up those, depending on the platform that you're using, they can be like featured images, or like in the social settings, it can be the same image that that's used for like Facebook. When you're sharing a page on Facebook, it will pull in that little image. So a lot of times it's going to be the same thing. Setting those things up can be huge for bringing more people to your website, because like all of a sudden they see, they see this page with a little image showing a class with happy people. People will click on it over another result that maybe has only text or some kind of stretched out logo that you can't even make out what it is, because Google will pull in whatever they can. If you don't say it what you want to show, it's just going to pull in the first image that they can find. It's not always the most flattering or the best one. So setting those things up, like they're little things, but they can have huge results.
Awesome. Yeah. This is all so helpful. And not once have we even mentioned social media. But it all makes sense, right? Because when you're, this is all going to support lead generation really, on repeat in a way that I think is probably a lot less work than being super active on social media. Not to say that you shouldn't be there also, but this is really powerful and I think often quite overlooked. So thank you so much. But before we wrap this up, I'd love for you to share with our listeners a little bit more about what you do and how you support Pilates studio owners in building and growing their businesses.
Yeah. So what I do, like obviously we have the Pilates Bridge, which is just a resource for anybody who wants to interview. We have podcast shows, articles, and things like that. But in terms of supporting the actual studio owners and businesses, so we do anything from web design to website maintenance, just to kind of gives you that peace of mind, one less thing that you have to worry about, a local SEO and SEO optimization, and the Google Ads management. So kind of like really the whole aspect of all those digital assets that you need to have in your toolbox. So we help you manage it. So I set up the websites. Whenever we're designing a website for a Pilates studio, they're always optimized for your look and your brand. I know there are different ways to go about creating a website and anything like that, but I think the most important part of it is just making sure that your voice and your personality shows up in that website, rather than just creating a cookie cutter platform or like a website that just looks like everybody else, and it's just not really speaking. Just helping you find that voice and connect to those people. This is really I feel like the strongest, the biggest benefit that you will get as a studio owner from working with us. And then after all, like if you like to manage your own stuff, if you like to deal with all of that tech and all of that, by all means, go and do it. But I do know that a lot of the studio owners, they want to teach, they want to grow their business, they want to do all those things in our time, and they want to have life. So if you just want somebody who can support all those technical aspects of the website maintenance and give you like guidance on what to do, what works, what doesn't work, this is where our maintenance plans come in, because it's one less thing for you to think about. And when you know that somebody else takes care of it, and you can focus on more important things in life.
That's right. Absolutely. I love it. So I'm going to link to all of the links in the show notes. But I highly encourage you to get in touch with Anastasiya if you're interested in learning a bit more about what she can do to help you build and grow a business. I definitely think it's a place, website and Google search and running ads and all of those things, certainly things that you can outsource. And so get in touch with Anastasiya if you've got any questions on that. Thank you so much, Anastasiya, for joining us. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Seran.
Thank you. So if this episode was helpful to you as you listen in, please go ahead and share this with a friend, fellow studio owner, and teacher who may also benefit from this. And don't forget to take a quick minute and go to wherever you're listening to this and rate and review this podcast. It would mean so much to me. I'll speak to you next week. Did you love this episode and want more? Head to spring3.com and check out my free resources that will help you run a profitable and fulfilling studio business. And before you go, one last reminder, there is no one way to do what you do, only your way. So whatever it is that you want to do, create, or offer, you've got this. Thanks again for joining me today and have a wonderful rest of your day.